There you go. And howdy, Jonathan.
Hey Alex, how's it going today?
Good. It was another fairly hectic day, and also dodging rain, and especially in the late morning. There was a big downpour over here, even some thunder. Uh, so I avoided most of it, but when I went out thinking that, well, the worst of the rain was over, it kicked up again.
Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
definitely got caught with it coming in sideways when I was going between meetings, but I don't know. Maybe I was tucked away in some nook. I didn't hear any of the thunder, but yeah, definitely a busy day on day two.
hmm. Yeah, so it was interesting. Another fellow who I'd interviewed a year ago, Eric Gatenholm of Bico. That's actually they own several different businesses out of Sweden, and he uh, he actually spotted me on the street. I think because of the name tag. So you look forward to encounters like these when you're here. You just wish there were more, but there's so many people. And then on the work front, let's see. I went to a set of interviews. Actually, two investor folks were people I spoke to today. Vijay Pande, general partner of Andreessen Horowitz, or A16Z as they nicknamed themselves, and their bio fund. And they last year launched a fourth bio fund of $1.5 billion. And the four funds total have a combined value of 3.2 billion. And he is a big articulator of how biotech is getting more like engineering, in the sense of, instead of sort of artisan medicines, you have processes for treatment development and that are repeatable, that are reproducible, that involve more process engineering, and can supposedly are going to be more likely to show success at a lower cost of drug development. So we talked about that, as well as some uh, investor trends and the looking for AI, and as that permeates into drug development. Now, I mean, to me, I've seen company after company say they're into AI, and maybe they just have an algorithm or two, but the more successful of those are able to show a lot more, of course. And we got into that. We got into what are some new areas that he'll be watching for, and Soffinova Partners out of Europe. Tom Burt, who is a partner in their crossover investment group, and crossover means that that means the firm invests in companies beyond the private venture capital phases into going public and afterward. And they've been into crossover investing at least for about 5, 6 or so years. Um, they bring in or work with, whether it's European companies looking to crack the US market or American companies looking to partner in Europe. And they have over 2.5 billion euros on assets under management. And they've got more than 60 people in Paris, London, and Milan, or as it was quipped by someone during the interview, the three fashion capitals.
Yeah, yeah, they must dress well. I also had a sit down with the investment side of things. I met up with Samir Kaul, the founding partner and managing director of Khosla Ventures, and that was a really fascinating conversation. I mean, I got there through um, first talking with Nessun Birmingham with
Oh,
some of the
yes.
mentors, and he recently joined there
Oh.
a managing partner, I believe. And we talked about the strategy there. They're a VC that really goes at startup companies. They're behind Ultima, for instance, which really interesting story. He told me that he just gave the guy who founded Ultima money. They didn't even have the idea yet, and he's just like, go make something. And he like failed at the first one or two, and then he came up with Ultima, and now Khosla has like a huge share in it. But yeah, it was a really fascinating talk. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Just to plug, Nesson Birmingham was a guest of Kevin and me, Kevin Davis and me on Close to the Edge a little over a year ago. He was talking about being a serial entrepreneur over the years, and we have that on our multimedia page on our Gen Edge website.
Yeah, no, that's he's a great chat. But yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, all the things that they've chosen, and I mean to invest in. But it was interesting. There was a lot that kind of tied into even in the biotech and healthcare verticals, there was a bit of a stress on the connection to climate change. So like keeping that as a touch point. But he did. Samir did say, we talked a few times, he doesn't know how 2023 is going to go. So he's kind of pushing.
Who does?
Yeah, right. No one has a crystal ball, but I think the approach that they're going to take, and their companies are mostly taking, is like, let's just, you can only get lucky if you stay afloat. So gotta make sure to make it through the year, and we'll see where they are then. But yeah, really fascinating stuff. And then I saw Vijay's talk also. I stopped by the Wuxi Global Forum 2023, which was happening simultaneously with JPM. And I saw this great panel with, it had a Beaver Gav, who's now at Genentech. She's the head of research and early development. There was Todd Golub, who's the director of the Broad. John Nagai, who's the director of the NIH Brain Initiative. Vijay was there. Vijay Pande, as you mentioned earlier, general partner at Andreessen Horowitz, or A16Z. And then Michael Severino, who's the CEO at Tessera, and he's also a CEO partner at Flagship. And there are some really interesting themes. I mean, going off of 2023 being a tough year, potentially, and what COVID has done, there was kind of the sentiment that if there's a silver lining to it all, it's that people got to be digging into some really, really good ideas, and what's kind of come out of that. And you mentioned AI and ML, but the type of therapeutic, is no longer just like a small molecule or a large molecule, and people are, they're really looking at RNA therapeutics. We're looking at gene therapy and cell-based therapies, and our understanding of human biology is getting deeper. And with that all, with machine learning and artificial intelligence, these things are coming together to potentially, really, really change the way that we think about creating drugs, but also, choosing who to treat and how to treat them. So potentially moving into a new era there. And just to kind of like finish up that thought, I started off my day talking with the CEO of Alto Neuroscience, Amit. I will grab his name in a moment. They have this precision psychiatry platform where they're trying to where they're discovering biomarkers that are related to brain circuit phenotypes, and how to choose the right molecule from a psychiatric perspective to treat MDD, or major depressive disorder, or PTSD. And this is a field that hasn't seen much advancement in 20 years since ketamine kind of came around. And so interesting that there may be like a bit of a paradigm shift there in psychiatry, but again, it's like at the heels of AI and ML work being done. So yeah, full amazing day. Still plenty more to talk about too.
Yeah. So, well, yes, I mean, neuro drug development has at least jump-started the last few years. I remember, next month is 12 years I've been at Jen and Marianne Liebert. And I remember for the first couple of years, I was writing about companies and some big ones pulling out of neuro drug development. And they just didn't see the same kind of opportunity for profit that they did with, say, cancer or rare disease or some of the other specialties. And it's started to change. I think, yeah, a lot of that is applying artificial intelligence. Now they just got to get the drugs done. But it shows you how times have changed. Rest of my day was a couple, actually, one up and comer and one very established company. The established company, Bayer, and their focus on oncology. So I spoke to the head of the Oncology Strategic Business Unit, Christine Roth, and Tara Frenkel. She is a head of oncology development for the unit. And Bayer is committed to being a top 10 oncology drug developer in sales by the year 2030. So we spoke about how they plan to do so. I mean, they have some marketed drugs now in the space. Nubeqa being one, and Zofago and Vitracvi, and so there's some new indications for those, but some other pipeline candidates in the works as well. So I was kind of interested in seeing where they say. Now, what's interesting is even when the annual report comes out, they only typically disclose their top sellers. Now, there's going to be one more cancer drug in there that we can expect to see, but we're not going to find out like every marketed drug how much in sales. That's just not the way Bayer breaks that out. So but they spoke of the progress made in the last few years, and we'll see. And then on the up-and-comer side, Vor Bio, Robert Eng is the president and CEO who I spoke to, and I also spoke to their chief medical officer. And I'll get the name Ayal Attar is his name. He joined in October. And what they do is engineer hematopoietic stem cells. And they're designed to retain also cellular viability and their functionality as they're being engineered. Their lead candidate is, hold on, Vor 33. It's a genome edited hematopoietic stem cell oh, sorry, no, I'm wrong. That's their second product in the clinic, but their lead product is Tremcell. Actually, it is. Okay, I was right all along. And they are in phase 1-2 for AML, acute myeloid leukemia, and in discovery phase for myelodysplastic syndrome and myeloproliferative neoplasm. So what was interesting is to me, they use some genome editing in at least some of their pipeline candidates, and we talked about that. They're also looking at what was it? Looking for additional targets. Their lead target CD33, for example, but they're also looking at additional surface targets like CD123, MR2, CD5, and it was a good sit down to learn more about how an up-and-comer and one that's again certainly not a big name or established pharma like a Bayer goes. And that was the day. And then tomorrow is a flurry of different interviews, meeting with Joe Panetta, the head of Biocom. That's one of California's 2 statewide life science groups, the other being California Life Sciences. Biocom started out in the San Diego region, and Joe's still there, and it's a good chance to kind of catch up on statewide biotech economic development, which is an area I used to write about before I joined Jen and Liebert. But also on the docket for me, Genomics England, the CEO of that group, and they've done a lot to advance genomics into clinical applications for about a decade now. Starting with the 100,000 genomes project in the UK, and you know, the UK government is committed to being tops in the world in genomics. If they get there, it's going to be through something like Genomics England, for sure. Also meeting the CEO, Hervé Hoppenot of Insight. Insight is the marketer in the US of Jakafi. And looking forward to that. I'm going to do some homework tonight on there, as well as another startup. Actually, no, one startup is Nutcracker Therapeutics, early stager, and the other one is Trevor Martin of Mammoth Biosciences. Trevor is someone we've interviewed at Gen a few times over the years. They have a CRISPR based with their own smaller than Cas9 nucleases. That's their big claim. They started out in diagnostic and detection with the detector diagnostic, although more recently they're implying CRISPR toward their own gene-edited therapeutics. And I'd be curious to see what sort of progress they've made in the year since we last spoke. Where the company's made announcements in the past year has been adding additional people to sort of C-suite positions. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they've done on the drug and diagnostic front. So I'm looking forward to that.
I saw on my way in from the airport that there was a big old mammoth building on the side of the highway. It was pretty big, so maybe they're probably spending quite a bit, and maybe things are going well over there. I just wanted to clarify that the name I had earlier was Amit Etkin, who's the CEO and founder of Alto Neuroscience, and you know, behind that meeting was they had an announcement for their successful phase 2A trial with their lead candidate Alto 101, I believe it is, or just Alto 1. You know, and talking about small and up and comers and some kind of interesting tech. I mean, you were talking about Bayer and cancer and some, you know, some pretty big time pharma. I spoke with Xavier Duporte from Eligo. He's they've been working on delivering CRISPR to the microbiome using bacteriophages, and they've done quite a bit of work in the gut brain axis, or maybe the gut microbiome rather, and apparently they've put in quite a bit recently into the skin microbiome, and they're going after some pretty widespread skin conditions, if you will, some like very, very, very hard, moderate or hard acne. And what they've done is they found out like the gene in the bacterium that's kind of behind most acne, and how they can target it, knock down the gene, and they're creating a like CRISPR based topical cream that they're going to start doing they're hoping to raise the money to start to do the clinical trials from. That's why they're really here at JPM. I also got to talk to Brian Finrow of Lumen, you know, and they've been hacking spirulina to turn that into a digestible, and also I learned inhalable, which I'll get to, delivery method for creating biologics in situ. So, you know, basically you eat the spirulina, and in your gut, the spirulina starts creating the biologics. Really, really interesting avenue. And, you know, he was saying that in 2022, they were just trying to stay afloat, but it actually turned out being quite a good year. They've been looking at C. difficile and traveler's diarrhea. They're looking, I mean, these are conditions that are, you know, there's millions and millions of people all over the globe treated, and it's stuff that needs to be treated repeatedly. So it's a market where they have to produce massive amounts of the drug, or in this case spirulina, to be able to treat all these people. So they were able to stay not only afloat, but he said that they had a pretty successful year, and they also moved into the COVID space, which was not something I was expecting. And as I kind of alluded to, they're making an inhalable, like a nose spray, where they spray the spirulina into the nasal cavity, and for some, I mean, it just seems to be the way to deliver these biologic cocktails. And the spirulina produces biologics at really, really great capacity, and is super, super cheap for them to produce. So really, really interesting stuff there. So I'll be writing about all that. And then the Alto piece, I'm actually put together a piece. It should be out tomorrow. So anyone who wants to see some more, a little bit of a deeper dive into that deal. And then tomorrow I have a meeting with Arbor, which is Arbor Biosciences. They're a nuclease company. They're looking for any nuclease they can find across the globe, in every nook and cranny. I'm also meeting with a company called Salud and Aladapt. Then there's the Khosla reception at the evening, so maybe I'll drop by there. And yeah, gonna be another busy day. Really, really looking forward to it. Didn't seem quite so hectic today. I don't know if it was the rain. Yesterday was really, really hustle and bustle everywhere. I do have to say this, like, I was not able to get into the St. Francis is where is
the Westin St. Francis
Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was supposed to meet Brian Finrow there, and like I got stopped at the door, and they're just like, where do you think you're going? And then when I got in with Brian and I didn't have a badge, they were like, who are you? What are you doing here? So very, very tight security at JP Morgan.
Yeah. So they do that, and they have a lot of people there checking badges and whatever. So yeah, within the halls, again, while it's crowded, it's not as crowded as I've seen it in past years. And I don't know if there was a drop off second day, maybe, or what. I think certainly the rain didn't help, and most people went on with their private meetings elsewhere, and I think that's how they did it. I would be curious, although I'm not. I'm not planning to stop by the actual conference tomorrow. Although, if I have time, maybe. But so it would have been interesting to see whether there's even further or even quieter crowd, because I thought there was certainly by Tuesday afternoon, although some of the parties started early too.
Yeah. The flagship one started at like 5:30. I did one comment about like the profiling, I guess, at the conferences. I saw a few tweets today go out about the lack of diversity in the attendance. Some feeling of sentiment that the equity there, across the board is pretty much still non-existent, and quite, JP Morgan claims to, I mean, I don't want to say what they say, but like there's just been a bit of a sentiment of a lack of diversity. So that was something interesting and that I may follow up on tomorrow.
Well, looking at people, I would say, I would say it was less diverse than arguably the staffs of many of these companies are. But certainly the people who go to a JP Morgan are C-suiters, investors, and those have been historically very white and very male. Now, there's a lot of talk within industry of diversifying, and maybe some efforts. I haven't really reported on that, so I can't really say for sure, but just looking at the crowd, it's different than even a bio convention. I think is a little more diverse, and I think the reason for that is folks who go to a bio convention might be either on the business development end, or they may be more department folks or types, not necessarily all C-suiters and investors. Although, to be fair, I would say about a third of the crowd I saw was women. If I had to just do a kind of rule of thumb looking at the crowd. I would say that, yeah, there's a long way to go. And there was, I mean, there's been, I guess, the last 4 or 5 years, what was it, about 5, 6 years ago, there used to be parties where, scantily clad women were running around in some of these, and there was kind of a mini scandal within the industry. And you then heard cries from the industry groups vowing to do better. And I think there's been some progress, but again, more needs to be done. And that's got to be, something as top of mind as anything else over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well,
All righty.
good chatting.
As always.
Yeah, and looking forward to the recap tomorrow.
So actually, I won't be in. I'll be on my way to the airport late because I got a red eye to catch. So I won't be chatting tomorrow. But because I mean, my last meeting is like in the middle of the afternoon. So there goes the day. Yeah. But
Well,
San Francisco's been fun.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't get rain tomorrow, though. I think it's supposed to pour. But yeah,
it'll rain again, although I didn't see any thunder in the forecast. Let's hope that's right. Yeah. All righty. So
great rest of your evening, and hope you enjoy the day tomorrow.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Bye.
All righty. Bye bye. Hold on.